Welcome to Moment Talk. I'm your host, Shisa Moa. On episode 33, we have a guest that was a hip hop dance instructor for the Renaissance School of Arts and the Boys and Girls Club of Fox Valley. However, he loved dancing, and so he pursued that. That also landed him in the west coast of LA. He was there for quite a little bit of time, gained a lot of trust, a lot of people, made a lot of network, and loved dancing. And one day, he stumbled upon a friend that suggested him to be a life coach. He laughed it off and didn't think much of it. However, things changed when his dad got really ill. So, he thought about it and he headed back to the Midwest. But at the time, he was thinking about a new career path for what he wanted to do. And he remembered of what his friend said, a life coach. And guess what? He's a life coach now. But he's going to tell you about his experience, so stay tuned. But first, let's thank our sponsors. Today's sponsor is brought to you by She Sells Menswear. Are you looking for the latest trendy men's fashion? Look no further. She Sells Menswear carries handcrafted bow ties, suit accessories, and everyday streetwear. They are your one-stop mom-inspired men's shop. You can search them online at www.xixomenswear.com. Now let's get back to the show. Hey, we are super excited today. Beautiful day in the Midwest. This gentleman is also from the Midwest. He's from Chicago. You a Bulls fan, Tou Ger?
Am I a Bulls fan?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't really follow sports that much, but if there was a sport team I represent from Chicago, that would be the Bulls, yes.
Okay. Very well. How's your day going, man?
It's pretty well. Nice and sunny over here, so I can't complain too much. How about you?
Yeah, likewise too. It's a little bit, a little bit of sun. I think I'm gonna go for a jog. I'm also going bonkers. I'm starting to clean my apartment.
Okay.
You said
Cool.
you're moving in next month or somewhere, right? You said?
Yeah. So there's a lot of renovations we're doing right now. My girlfriend and I bought a condo, so we're currently between places. And right now it's just a matter of just fixing up the place to be able to move in.
Cool.
So
Congrats to that. But hey,
thank you.
man, you know what? Tell us one thing that the listeners do not know about you, man.
One thing the listeners do not know, man, I guess I feel like I almost just start with what do they know? But yeah, so I guess one thing that makes my life amazing is I have a wonderful girlfriend, and we also have two amazing dogs. So I have my own nice little family that keeps me sane and keeps me grounded, and then also keeps me human. So I assume most listeners don't know that about me.
Who's really coaching who, the dog or you? Or the girlfriend or
Uh,
you?
the girlfriend might be coaching me more than I coach her, but well, we try to have a relationship where we don't coach each other, right?
No pun intended, but you are indeed a life coach. So what is
hmm
a life coach?
What is a life coach? Yeah, thanks for asking. So a life coach is someone who supports someone else in an area of their life that they're passionate about. You know, so what it is people have goals, right? Everyone's got goals, and sometimes these goals are harder to get to. There are barriers and obstacles in the way, and that's when a life coach comes in to support the individual to overcome these obstacles.
Now, what does a lifestyle coach do, though?
What does a lifestyle coach do? Yeah, so I'm assuming we're still talking about life coach, just because lifestyle coach and life coach are slightly different. So as far as lifestyle coach, I actually wouldn't know because I've never actually studied anything in the lifestyle coach world. There's just a small distinction there. As a life coach, though, there's many different approaches to it. Um, it's actually I believe it's the second leading industry, growing industry right now. So there are tons and tons of coaches coming out and about, and again, just multiple different approaches. Um, so that would depend, that would determine what the coaches do. Some coaches give advice, some coaches give feedback, some coaches, uh, just sit there and almost act like a therapist. Some coaches are more, my particular coaching is more so ontological, which is the study of being and existence. So my approach is more so seeing how the person is getting in their own way and how you can get them out of their own way so that, they can deal with the obstacle that's in the way appropriately.
almost sounds like a consultant, yo. But what's the difference between a
Mhm.
consultant and a life coach?
Yeah. So a consultant is more of a consultant is more of a professional in that particular field. Um, so, for example, if you go to a consultant for like some on your business, they would actually like tell you like step A through Z. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to take care of. With a coach, we more so exist to support you to discover what you got to do. So it's not so much of giving advice. It's not so much let me feed you like this nugget, but it's more so let me support you to discover your own path.
Hmm. As a life coach, you say you wanted to change others and change the
Mhm.
stigma of their mentality and their thoughts by having them achieve what they wanted, and that's your biggest goal that you want. What specific areas do you focus on?
Yeah. So change. I think the word I love using is transformation. Because change implies that something's wrong and needs to be swapped out, right? Like swapping out completely. Transformation is just simply taking what's already there and growing it in a way. So that's what I would actually love to. Yeah, that's the word I more so love to use. Um, with people though, what I work on in the areas, yeah, with the areas I work on with people is in their personal lives. So my particular people that I work with are people who have successful jobs. They're working, a great 9 to 5. They're, the income's coming in. That's not something that they're worried about. But they feel like there's something in their personal lives that are still missing. Whether that be relationship, whether that be their fitness to them, like how they feel about their own fitness or their weight or whatever. It could be their relationship with their family. Yeah, it could be that I have a lot of people who don't have a lot of time, and that's what we work on. So yeah, so it's more so personal development and personal goals that I focus on.
Now you focus on that, but is there any area you don't focus on?
Yeah, so I actually don't focus on business at all. So I always say I'm not a business coach. If someone wants to get coaching on their business farther in their career, that's not where I would come in. I also don't focus on money or spirituality, just because those are areas that I'm not. They just don't fuel me up, I guess you could say.
All right, all right. Let's take you way back now.
hmm
How long have you been coaching?
How long have I been coaching? So I've been coaching since February of 2018. So a little over 2 years, like 2 years, 2 months.
Okay, see, decent. Just started, but still, it's there.
hmm Yeah,
By then, how many clients have you worked with during this time?
during this time, multiple clients. I mean, a little over a dozen. When we first started in my coaches training program, I went through accomplishment coaching. It was right away like go out and get yourself clients. And so I've worked with over a dozen clients by this time, and just people in general. I also host workshops monthly at a local cafe called Next Door Cafe. So like you even include these people, it's been maybe 60s, 70s.
All right. Prior to coach, at one point you were a dancer. Could you elaborate on that? Because you were at LA, you were dancing with quite some big names too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I started dancing when I was 10, and I right when I picked it up, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I'm originally from Appleton, Wisconsin. So when I turned 19, I actually dropped out of college to pursue dance, and that's when I moved out to Chicago. From there, in 2016, I moved out to Los Angeles for close to a year. And out there, I danced with like some of the top dancers and top names in the industry. And I also competed with some of the top dancers in the world, actually. So that was pretty neat. Yeah, so that's a little bit about my dance background. I'm not sure if there's more information that you would like there.
I would actually, since you said you dance and can competed. Can you give me some names you
Mhm.
might have danced with or competed with?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the groups I was in, I was with a dancer named Wildebeest. I love that guy. He's a great human being, great dancer. And he was someone that I was heavily influenced by during my time out there. Um, I also, I'm a freestyle dancer mainly, right? So I would go to like the underground scenes and kind of do that. So I got down with a few dancers, like Slim Boogie was a dancer whose like sessions I would always show up to. I competed against Boogie Frantic, which is, in my opinion, one of the top dancers in the world. Also got to, connect with some of their trainers. Actually, there's a guy named Taibo that he kind of reminds me of Master Roshi from Dragon Ball Z. He's the guy that trained Goku, right? Like this guy's the guy that trained some of these top dancers. So I also got to meet and connect with him and directly train with him as well. So
Did he look like Masaroku? And did he teach you the infamous,
well, he was an older Asian guy, and I met him in a ramen shop.
The irony, oh, the irony. Flying a magic cloud and all that.
No, but you see the guy. His stuff was. I mean, it's so. He makes it look so basic, but they're actually very high level. And he's super experienced. He's the kind of guy where you see him, you wouldn't really know that he's such a great dancer and he has such great technique. So the moment he shows you, you're like mind blown.
We're gonna talk about this pivotal point where you kind of came to an end. Coaching was upon you. Why did you decide to become a life coach? Can you give us that point in time where you were thinking and you're feeling about that?
Yeah, well, that was that's a long story because that's one of the biggest moments of my life. So while I was living in LA, the reason why I came back to Chicago, the Midwest actually, was because my dad got sick, and he was told he only had 6 months left to live. So I made the choice to pack up my bags, move back home. Um, yeah, and for the longest time, I had identified myself as just being a dancer, right? Like, who are you? I'm a dancer. Done. Period. And that was kind of my easy way out, you could say. I never really got to know myself outside of dance. So when I came back to Chicago, I felt like I had completely lost myself. Who was I now if I wasn't pursuing dance? And I felt like a big part of it was just missing. So I fell into depression. I was, like anxious about my future, what the rest of my life would even look like. And I really hit rock bottom, to be honest. And I think it was from rock bottom that I actually got to recreate myself, which was super cool in a way, realizing that you got to get down there to recreate foundation. And that's when I realized that, my whole purpose in life was always to inspire people and to be inspired by other people. And dance is simply one outlet to allow me to do that. And there were so many other outlets where I could do that, inspire people and be inspired by others. Uh, and I just remembered I was working with a coach named Sarah, earlier in my dance career, and she was like, "Hey, if you ever decide to stop being a dancer, I think coaching would be really appropriate for you." And I was like, "No, I'm not going to take that. I'm going to be a dancer forever." But here we are. She called it. Years later, I became a coach. And it's just it was just I just realized it was my calling, and it was gonna be my way to make the impact in the world that I wanted to make.
I'm so glad that you found your calling and Sarah did pivot. It's a pivotal point, in your
Hmm.
career from moving from LA now to Chicago, living with two dogs and your girlfriend.
Hmm.
So that's a big point. How's your dad? He passed away, right?
Yeah, my dad passed away this past November.
Any wise word he came from you to you?
Any wise words he gave?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, love each other. It's like the most basic thing, but it's like like it's something that I still have to continuously work on. you know, like love each other, put God first. Um, be kind to each other. And I think he was a man where his actions, like he was a very compassionate man. And I think I learned more from his actions than anything else. He was a pastor, actually. Um, yeah, so my dad was a pastor, and completely, in many ways, saved my family and I. Um, and I just like the biggest story I love telling about him, and I wasn't even there, but like there was one point in time, multiple times actually, where random people from our church would be like, "Hey, could you pick up our kids and take them to school? We don't have a car and it's cold, right? Because it's in Wisconsin in the middle of winter." And my dad would just hand him his keys and be like, "Hey, just take my car," and like just like that, his car was gone. And he did that multiple times. So just to see how giving he was, I think it taught me to have a big heart.
You still continue to, and thank you for hopping on. Your dad and your mom, was they against your opinion of the dancer and coaching?
Oh, for sure.
They were against it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, they're Hmong parents, right? And it's both are very unorthodox, right? Like when I became a dancer, actually, like I mentioned earlier, I dropped out of college, and I didn't even tell my mom or my dad for 2 weeks. and and I just remember I was like, "Hey mom, what would you do if I dropped out of college?" And she was like, "I would kill you. I would hate you. Do not do that." And I was like, "I did that 2 weeks ago." um, yeah, so they weren't a fan of it, but eventually like we all know already, they just want the best for you.
Uh,
And when they really saw how dedicated and committed I was to it, they actually jumped on board, and my mom actually supported me with like, she worked overtime to help me move out to Chicago. Um, my dad was always praying for me, was always, like checking in on me to make sure I was, things were going accordingly to plan. So yeah,
I see. Your dad is watching you from above, man.
yeah.
Now, with your dad's teaching and a lot from what he said, we're back to you. What
hmm
do you love about coaching the most?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to the giving, right? I guess it's funny. That's ironic. It does go back to the giving. And the great thing about it is, I've always been a giver my whole life, but I always felt like I was like depleting myself every time I gave something, right? Like I give it something to you, so I lose something. Uh, Coaching has really given me the gift of being able to give to someone and then also being like having it be given back. Like every time I'm on a call with a client, every time I teach a workshop, I feel like I learned something new, or I discovered something new about myself, even though the intention is on the other person, right? That's the focus. So
Who's
it's
coaching
nice to
who,
just,
right?
yeah, exactly. I actually had a conversation with a client one time when I was like, man, sometimes I don't even feel right taking the money from you because I feel like I'm getting so much out of it. But of course, that's the great thing. Like value goes both ways, and that's like the ultimate gift, the gift that keeps on giving. Where you don't have to worry about like being depleted because you're always being filled up when you do give as well. So that's one of the biggest gifts for sure.
With these clients, what is the biggest challenge you got to help one of your clients through?
Ooh, there's a whole lot. There's a whole lot. I would say the one that sticks out to me that I still give examples on when I talk about coaching is I had a client. He was like a CEO of his own little business, had like 7 or 8 employees, something like that, and he was also a husband and a father to like a younger son. Um, and his problem, his challenge was that he didn't have enough time. And ironically, he almost didn't hire me because he didn't have the time to work with me, right? But we worked together, and we get on the first call, and he's like, "So what are we gonna do? You're gonna tell me how to, make like list my priorities? You're gonna tell me what I gotta do with my schedule, how to write things down on my calendar?" I was like, "No, none of that. We're just gonna talk." And after a few of our sessions, we realized that the reason why he didn't have a lot of time was because he couldn't trust anyone. Like that was his deeply rooted thing. And, he would go to work and he wouldn't be able to trust his employees to get the work done. So he micromanaged them, and he'd like stay after to make sure that when they were done with the work, he'd like double check it. And then he'd get home late, and he'd be like, he would get upset at his wife about how she, took care of their kid because he didn't trust that that was the appropriate way to do it. Then they would argue till like 2 a.m. and he'd wake up at 6 a.m, go to work, and the cycle would just continuously repeat itself. And when we realized that he has this story where he can't trust people, and he's had it for like most of his life, when we realized that, we were able to create something and put it into place so that he could actually start trusting people again. And the beautiful thing with that was it didn't only, I guess you could say, fix, for lack of better words, fix his relationship to time management. So like imagine what that did with his relationship with his wife and his kid, and what that did with his relationship with his all his employees. So that's one of the coolest things I share because most people again do think like, so what do you do with these people? Like, do you tell them the steps they need to take? And it's like, no, you just gotta discover how you're holding yourself back. And with him, we discovered a deeply rooted secret, and he didn't even realize how little he trusted people. And, can you imagine walking around the world, like not being able to trust people, but not even realizing you don't trust people? So I would say that's one of my most, that's something that like, when I think about that client and what I was able to support him through, that definitely like puts a smile on my face and lets me know like, wow, I did something that made a difference.
Impact is what you did, and that's what happened in this gentleman.
Yeah.
What is the biggest obstacle you have overcome in your own life?
Man, so many, but I would say, I think most of my coaches who I train with would agree with this. My relationship to myself. Like I hated myself, and I didn't realize how much I hated myself. I was so insecure, and I thought it was just insecurity, like I wasn't good enough, right? But no, it was really like I didn't like who I was, and everything that I did, all the accomplishments I had, was to try to convince myself to love myself, and none of it worked. And when I got into the world of coaching, I was able to face that reality and do a lot of deep work on it. And it's work that I'm still consistently doing to just learn how to love myself and be okay with who I am as a human being. But that's definitely one of the biggest obstacles.
Loving oneself. That reminds me of a meme of this guy in the mirror pointing at himself going like this. It's a funny meme. That's what it reminds me of, right? When you said that. But you're right, you do have to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Out of these clients, what's frustrates you the most about your clients?
What frustrates me the most about my clients? I mean, ideally, I'd like to say nothing, right? But in like, cause right now, like nothing frustrates me with any of my clients. But I think if there's anything that ever like frustrates me at any point, I think it's just the moments when you see so much in them and they don't see it in themselves. It's like, have you ever tried to like support someone and then they refuse to support themselves?
There's a good old saying, I can't even help you, you can't help yourself.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the most frustrating things because I choose to see all my clients as giant people who can accomplish anything they want. And sometimes we'll get on calls and like they'll be stopped by something like, oh, I don't want to have this conversation with my mom, or I don't want to have this conversation with my boss or whatever, right? And it's because they don't see themselves as people who are capable of that. And the frustrating thing is when you see someone as who they really are, as a giant, and they see themselves as miniature and little, like for me, that's gotta be the most frustrating thing because I personally know what that feels like to see myself that way. And, the beauty in that too is it honestly just shows me that we still got work to do. And it still shows me that I still have responsibility to take as a coach to get them to see that.
Great, man. Good approach to that.
Yeah.
What type of clients do you most like to work with?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, I work with people who have found success in their professional careers already. So people who are working a great, 9 to 5 or making good money, um, and they're just simply not fulfilled in life. They're not satisfied. And they know that there's something more out there for them beyond the paycheck. That's what I work with. People who want to work on their personal development and relationships.
With that being said, how would you describe your approach to coaching?
My approach is very well. First, I guess ontological, like I mentioned earlier. Very, we don't talk about like the thing itself. Like the problem is never the problem, is what I like to say. Somebody comes to me with a problem of I can't find a relationship. The problem isn't that you can't find a relationship. The problem is much more like it's like deeply rooted. And my approach is to come in and be like, okay, so what's under the surface, and let's dig and pull it out so that we can like pull the weeds from the root, like, right, rather than just mowing over it and then having it grow again. So my approach is very deep. My approach is very personalized to the person. And I'd also say it took me a while to get here, but I'm a pretty straightforward coach. Like I'll say what needs to be said instead of trying to like beat around the bush. So yeah.
Blunt is best. Do you offer online coaching?
Online coaching? Well, everything that I do is actually over Zoom or over the phone. So I actually don't do in-person coaching unless it's a workshop.
Okay.
So everything I guess you could say is like online or over the phone.
Okay. Do you have any credits or license? I mean, have you been accredited through the ICF?
Yeah, well, accomplishment coaching, the program that I trained through, that's actually one of the top training programs in the ICF. In the International Coaches Federation, I don't remember the exact number, but there are only so many programs that are actually accredited through them. And I like to say that I graduated from the Harvard of it. That's actually what they're known as, the Harvard of coaching program.
Oh, wait. So again, what did you get your training again?
Accomplishment coaching.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
What are your favorite 3 self-help books?
Favorite 3 self-help books? Oof, so many. I mean, I always say, I think the one that made the biggest difference, and it's such a cliche one, but You Are a Badass, is one that's like really good for people who have never.
Oh, that's by the girl.
Jen Sincero.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a book that like, I remember I was in Hawaii and just chilling in a random Urban Outfitters while my girlfriend was trying her clothes on, and I just picked it up and was like, wow, this book really speaks to me, and I bought it right there and then. And again, it sounds like such a cliche one, but for anyone who hasn't really jumped into the world of self-development or personal development, that's like the number 1 book that I would recommend as like a foundation to your growth. There's a reason why it was, like bestseller for so long. Another one that really supported me is no, I haven't gone through the whole book, but Fictional Authenticity. Actually, one of my first coaches, his name was Alex Terranova. He wrote the book, and it's really just about authenticity and really discovering who you are. That's a book that I would highly recommend as well. And I actually know that right now with the coronavirus, and basically the world being the way it is, he's got some like discounts going on with his program around that. So if you're interested in checking that out, do check that out as well. I believe his website is thedreammason.com. Let's see. And the third one I would say is, I'd say Conversations with God is a great one. Spirituality is not something that I say I'm strong in, but it's definitely something that's opened up my eyes to, the way that the universe works, and the way that I impact the universe, I guess you could say. So cool. That's definitely one that I read like the Bible. Actually, I leave it in my car, and when I'm like have downtime, I'll just open it, flip it to a random page, and read a paragraph.
out of those 3 books you mentioned, I have listened to the first one.
Okay.
You Are a Badass.
Yeah.
That's a good book. That's a good book.
Yeah.
What skills or experience have you gained outside of coaching do you integrate with your practice?
Skills, mainly just like the dance. I think my philosophy as an artist is what I integrate a lot into my coaching. And then other than that, I mean, as someone who's a fulfillment coach, or what people would identify as a life coach, life really, like there's multiple skills that and I don't know if skills would be the correct name to call it, but there are multiple lessons that I've learned in my own relationships, that I could incorporate. There are many lessons that I learn in myself that I can incorporate. But as far as actual skill, it's definitely my philosophy and my like the skills I learned through dance.
What do you expect to transpire from each coaching session?
What do I expect to transpire from each coaching session? Good question. I just want my clients to walk away with a breakthrough, with something new. Yeah. I like to say, like, coming to a coach is basically to discover your blind spots. And when my clients come to me, like, I want to make sure that I can offer them offer them the ability to see a blind spot so that they can approach life differently.
That kind of covers my second question about that, because I'm expecting what I should expect from you after a coaching session.
Yeah, I definitely like that's a new pathway, I like to say.
Okay.
My motto is life beyond the non-existent box, right? Because we always hear the idea
beyond the non-existing box.
Yeah, because you always hear, think outside the box, think outside the box. And the way I like to put it is, like, there is no box. There's only the box that we put there for ourselves. And what does it look like if you could step outside of it, because you realize it's not even really there, and getting, like, so I guess to answer the second question there is my clients to be able to expect to step into a new box, outside of the old one into a new one.
What do you expect from your clients during and after the coaching session?
What do I expect? I expect authenticity is a big one. Showing up and being very vulnerable and authentic with who you are and what's in your way. Because of course, you can't support, like, someone if they're lying to you, right? Or they're not telling you something. I also expect them to really be invested in themselves. I expect them to want it for themselves. And to be willing to do the work as uncomfortable as it may be. Yeah.
This 2 last question is going to end this episode's recording.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, advice to a younger generation, a younger self of you. You're what, mid-20s now?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
28. So let's say 18-year-old of you, Tou Ger.
Mm-hmm.
A word of advice that wants to be a coach.
A word of advice who wants, like, assuming he wants to be a coach?
Yep. A younger generation that wants to be a coach, correct. A younger version of you.
Word of advice. It's a tough one because, again, I don't really give advice as a coach. I guess if I were to give him any advice, I would just say, like, love yourself.
Okay.
I think that's, like, again, super easy, but I think it's something that I needed to learn, and it took me too long to learn.
It sounded so easy for you to say that, but you even mentioned that yourself, that you didn't like yourself.
Oh yeah, no, I hated myself.
So
yeah.
So rephrase that is to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, can you tell the audience where we could find you on social media outlet, on Instagram, your website, etc.?
Yeah, so my website, I'm actually in the middle of revamping that right now. So my new website is going to be tougerleecoaching.com. Again, that's tougerleecoaching.com. My Instagram is 123. That's the number 1, TOU, and then the number 3. And then I'm most active on Facebook, and I'm a person. I like to consider myself pretty authentic with my coaching and in person as well, as a person as well. So if anyone's interested in finding me and actually connecting with me on a personal level, feel free to connect with me on Facebook. You can find me as Tou Ger digitally, and I should be the only one with that name in the world. So.
Awesome. Well, we are very, very appreciative of your time, Tou Ger.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't thank you enough to come on and have a chat with us and bring a lot of value to this chat. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and thank you for all that you're doing for the Hmong men out there. Honestly, I was so excited that this is my first podcast, and I was so excited because this is something I really could have used a lot of time. Thanks for what you're doing for the next generation of Hmong men and people in general, and I'm excited to see the impact that you're going to create in the world.
That ends our episode. If you haven't yet, visit our official website at www.hmongmentalk.com or like and share us on Facebook at Hmong Men Talk.
Who also believes in building family values. She believes not only in investing in your future, but also investing in your present moment, creating time and memories with your family. If you have any insurance needs or any questions, please don't hesitate to call her at the link below.
Also, a special thanks to DJ Peter for using his beats. You can check him out at YouTube.